The recording started. Welcome to Thursday night, our Refocus Thursdays. We have an awesome guest that's going to be with us tonight. She's already here. For those of you that may be listening to the audio, of course, you can't see that she's here. We have coach and author, and there's some other things that I'm going to let her share about herself. She is a life coach. She is an author. She is a speaker. And I met her on Facebook, and I went to her page, saw some very interesting things, began to talk. So there's the topic that she's going to be sharing on tonight is just one of many topics that she's going to be able to share. So we thank you for joining us, Coach Latonia Price. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Coach Martin, for having me. I really appreciate the invite.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So now I know that we'll tag it on the end also. So how can people get in touch with you? I mean, those of you, I know some are coming in. They're coming in slowly but surely, and we'll want this on the front end because, you know, when we listen to audio or videos, sometimes people don't listen to the whole thing, but they're interested. Right. How can they get in touch with you?
Usually I always say probably the best is social media. So I'm definitely on Facebook. Facebook page. My actual company itself is Effective Living LLC. Mm-hmm. You can do a search that way. Latonia Price. You can search for me that way. I'm also on Twitter, which also that's Coach L Price. And then Instagram and Google Plus. Those are all like Effective Living LLC. The website address is actually www.effectiveliving-llc.com.
Right. And I am there now. Please go check out her webpage. After I went to her webpage, because and I was talking to a guy today who actually does website analyzing, if you will. You can tell a lot by people's webpage. And when I went to her webpage, I could really tell that she really has something to offer. So I wanted to get her on the show tonight. And the topic that we're looking at tonight on Refocus Thursday is overcoming obstacles. And I'm going to let Coach Price, I'm going to let her do some teaching. I may jump in with a question, but and those of you, thank you guys again for, I see Pastor Amanda Wilson has joined us. Thank you for joining us. I see Kimberly Ellison. Thank you for joining us. Please share this on your Facebook pages. I'm going to be sharing some Twitters and captions while we're in the midst of this tonight. But I'm getting ready to turn it over to you, Coach. Thank you so much again. So talk to us about overcoming obstacles.
Well, overcoming obstacles. That particular topic has been a primary one for me a lot. I actually started the Effective Living LLC. It'll be a year in June of this year. Mm-hmm. But before that, I actually self-published my first book, which was a testimony about our firstborn daughter, me and my husband. Our firstborn daughter was stillborn. And so that was back in August of 2013. And so from there, I actually did a mini workshop for the book launch. And that was a discussion on, can I trust God again? Oh, and that was actually a title within that, a chapter title within that book. And it kind of just rippled effect from that point. And so a lot of people just kind of started to really engage with me about, you know, just overwhelming situations in their life and overcoming those particular events and obstacles that does really bombard us and really get us weighed down. And honestly, that's the reason I kind of got into the, you know, certified life coaching and just helping people to realize that they can overcome. It takes time. It's nothing that does happen overnight. It definitely does take time. And no matter what the obstacle may be, you can overcome it. It's, you know, if you have to cry, cry. If you have to get a little frustrated, it's fine, but just don't stay there. And that's the thing that I try to help people realize. You can't stay there. You can't live there. You can't dwell there. Don't dwell there, you know, sad and out of it. You have to really take care of yourself and be mindful of who else is depending on you. So, and overcoming those obstacles, that actually helps as well. You have to think about those other people that you have to empower and encourage yourself. You still have that mission on your life. You have to fulfill that.
How do you help a person not to, because just by what you're saying, because I think that happens more than we would think. We kind of go into this shell when we're dealing with things that are kind of overwhelming. How do you help that person to keep that vision of having you got other kids, because you've got other obligations. You can't afford to really turn inward now. How do you help them as a coach?
I definitely I try my best to actually, number one, keep them encouraged. I try to be their biggest cheerleader. That's number one. And also I try to ensure them that, it's okay to have your moments, but also you want to make sure that you are renewing your mind. You're actually, putting positive thoughts within your mind as well. A lot of times when it comes to our faith and our belief and our strength and just trying to stay strong for other people, even for ourselves, it takes a daily, affirmations, positive affirmations. It takes daily renewal of the mind. It does. I mean, it's something that you have to kind of do repetitively. You can't just do it one day and then think, oh, I'm better now. It's a daily process. I actually had put up a quote not too long ago about, motivation. They say it doesn't last, but neither does bathing. So you have to do it every day.
Oh my.
So,
Wow.
you have to keep telling yourself, I am going to make it. I can get through this. Okay, I know it's tough, but you know what? I'm better than this. I can definitely overcome this. I'm strong. I can do this. And you have to kind of remember, who made you. And so, and I know, like you said, we're not trying to make it a Bible study, but, you have to remember who made you. You have to remember who made you. And God never designed us to be in this slump and to be these defeated people. We are overcomers. We are victorious. We are guaranteed victory. And so that's one of the things I just try to help people to focus on the most is to focus on those victories, their goals, and what they really do want to accomplish.
That's good. That's good. And that's so important that what you said, it's got to be a daily process, a continuous process, because we're bombarded all the way around with so much negativity.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that I often tell people is one of the worst things you can do is watch the nightly news and then go to sleep.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I don't. And my husband will actually laugh a little bit, but he will tell you, I barely watch TV.
Right.
And if I do, it's usually something y'all gonna probably laugh at me. I like watching Golden Girls. I got the series.
I love it. What is it? What's that channel?
I actually have the series on DVD. I have all the seasons.
You got all of them. I love Golden Girls. We're sometimes me and my wife are watching TV and we can't find anything, and it's either Golden Girls or Law and Order.
Yeah, I really, if I'm looking at news, it's for the weather. Yeah. And so I know what the forecast is. Yeah. But other than that, I try not to. I mean, of course, I'm praying for, our areas and for our country and around the world. But yeah, that's one definitely a motivation killer right there, looking at news all day.
So help that person that may hear this. How does us taking those things in through, and I'll use some church terminology, through our eye gate, ear gate, and how does that really, let me ask it, I'll ask it as if I don't know. Does that really affect us, and how?
Oh, yes, it affects us tremendously. And ironically, you just kind of hit something. I actually, my third book is actually called Focus Faith. Okay. And that actually talks about monitoring and taking, notice of your gates. Mm-hmm. And so what you see, what you hear, what you say, those things all have a very powerful influence on how you're going to maintain your strength, how you're going to maintain your faith. And so when you watching something, if you constantly watching that, you constantly watching negativity, people getting beat up, people getting abused, people, that's going to register with your mind like, what's this world coming to? You're going to end up feeling like you can't do nothing. You don't even want to go outside no more. So then, when you listen to negativity, if you listening, no offense to anybody, but hardcore rap, you listening to all those cuss words, you listening to all of those, just those negative imageries of what women and men and having money, having cars, having all this, that in and of itself is so far from being successful and being wealthy. That's not what God has said definition of wealth. And then, of course, what we say, y'all know that even though they say life and death lies in the power of the tongue, but honestly, what we say makes a huge difference. A lot of times we have to say what we truly believe. We have to make those positive affirmations verbally in order to overpower the thoughts in our mind. So we have to say that over and over and actually speak it into the atmosphere. We have to actually let that register within our own ears. And so, sometimes maybe we're the only voice that we hear. And because of that, we have to make sure it's positive that's coming out of our mouths. Because if that's what's combating with our mind, which we all know the battlefield is in the mind, we have to take control. We have to fight that way. So
I really agree with that. I agree with that totally. Even to the extent that, a lot of times people will have things that happen to them and immediately they want to blame it. Or, it's society, it's this, or it's that, the only reason I was like this is because of my father or because of my mother. And so we go into these blaming, but I'm really understanding that a lot of things that we're putting into our spirit, if we're not careful, it will be a means of justification for some of the thinking that we already have.
Right.
So when you're coaching and you're dealing with people, how do you help them when you hear that they have a state or a way of thinking that is their obstacle? How do you help that person? Because we're talking about overcoming obstacles. And for those of you that are listening, please understand that and this is just me, I really believe that up to 85 to 90% of what we're calling an obstacle is really internal and not an external thing. So how do you help that person to see, okay, this is a problem. This physical thing that you're dealing with is a problem, but it's being birthed from something deeper.
I definitely, there's different techniques that I do have. There's actually a terminology that I use with many people as far as when I try to coach them is actually called cognitive distortions. And that's pretty much where you're basically blowing up the negative aspect way too big. You're taking it way out of proportion. Some people, they end up getting a splinter and they like, oh Lord, I gotta go to this hospital. I got my finger amputated. They just throw it all out of proportion. And so, you definitely want to ensure that, don't focus so much on the negative. Like you said, don't try to have a blame game. Don't even, honestly, I would say sometimes there's certain situations where you have to blame yourself because it's not your fault. If you've been abused, you've been, those kind of things, don't let that make you think it's your fault. That was something you had no control over. And so, you want to help that person to, definitely shift that thinking, definitely not focus so much on the negative. Sometimes you have to kind of make them say certain things and rephrase it. You want to have them, kind of isolate certain aspects of that phrase and actually put the positive phrases, I can, or I will, or, you want to put those positive affirmations in front of those aspects that saying that they can't, or, I'm limited because of this, or, I was raised, I lived in the hood. So, this is my mentality. No, you can't just, live with that. I mean, especially if you want better, you do have to do better, but you also have to, take those action steps. There's actual physical action steps you have to do to actually make that change and that shift for the positive. So, sometimes it don't just take the thinking to renew. It actually takes you action steps to renew.
That's good. That is so good because, just dealing from, my studies in NLP, a lot of people have emotional connections to, like you say, I'm in the hood, and there's an emotional connection. You can see it, because they're talking to you like this. But then when they start talking about, I'm from the hood, this whole theology changes. So how can we help? And I think this, because Pastor Amanda, great preacher, teacher, and she deals with a lot of women. How can we, even those that in the church, and we really need is, how do we help change people's mindset when there's such an emotional attachment to something in their life that is really an obstacle? It's because, okay, I'm wanting a corporate job, but I can't get past my ghetto.
Yeah. That's definitely a good question.
Yeah.
Right. Honestly, I notice sometimes, like, if you can tell them that they are able to do something great, are you able to let them have a goal? A lot of times, and like you probably know, as far as with life coaching, you allow the person to formulate their own goals. It's not so much you telling them, but you actually try to pull that actual positive out of them. So even if the person, let's just say, we are kind of, I don't know why I brought that up, somebody in the hood, but let's just say this person says, well, I'm in the hood, but, I really like doing hair in my kitchen, or, that kind of skill. Okay, then why possibly do you think you can go to school? Maybe you can actually kind of further your actual knowledge in that, and you can, and you want to encourage them. I think sometimes allowing somebody to speak life into them actually can help them change their life as well for the better. So even like you said, inside the church, a lot of times some people do need that one-on-one. Some people need, that kind of attention to help them to feel like, what, I am worth, investing in myself. I am worth, being able to move forward and actually get an education and actually do better for myself. But it does take sometimes speaking life. It takes that implantation of someone telling them, yes, you can. And you do have goals, no matter how ridiculous you might say. Maybe you do want to have a multi-million-dollar business one day, but you came from here. It's fine, but let's sit down and let's rationally come up with the plan of action and actually get you connected with the people that actually going to be able to help you. So someone just has to kind of really speak that life into them.
That's good. That's good. Because so many people have grown up in such negative environments that they never had anyone to really speak life into really, if not dead, a dying situation. Because if you come up in that environment that is just totally negative, I promise you, and I'm sure we've all probably seen people who have like this permanent scowl on their face. They're never smile. They're never energetic or excited about anything. So how can we? What if you were dealing with someone that was in that situation where their past was really just such a tragic thing that it is still an obstacle in their present? How would you help that person? What would you give them to even start to journey?
Usually what I try to do, because I try not to delve too deep into people's past, just because that's like counseling, and I'm not a licensed therapist. So that's always a disclaimer, that's in our little bylaws that we have. So we're not counselors. So I would definitely try to do some sort of like small assessment just to see where they are. Like if they can have some issues from the past, but if they're really truly ready to embrace coaching, if they're ready to embrace taking actions to better themselves, then I can definitely work with them. Even if they're still kind of blaming and all that, there are some tools that I have that I try to use through some training that I had with my life coaching that actually helps to kind of really look at those past situations and actually see, number one, if there's an issue of forgiveness there.
Yeah.
And then if there's a way to even get past that, because like you said, these obstacles that we have, they're internal. So maybe, it's time to really learn how to forgive. Maybe it's time to how to forgive that person and yourself. And so sometimes starting even just from that single point can actually help, further them to move, even further, and actually get past that whole, not just keep blaming and just staying stuck, and so I try to kind of give them tools and kind of worksheets, but I'm with them through the worksheet to work through the questions. So
that's good. That's good. And you said something earlier, and I want to go back just in case someone comes in and you just hear this part. You said earlier that they're not to blame for what has happened to you. You really got to understand that you're not to blame, but you still can't get any further by holding the blame in a place of unforgiveness. One thing that I always said about forgiveness, I can't even remember who I heard it from, but it said when you refuse to forgive, it's like withholding that which God has given to you.
That's good.
Forgiveness is like withholding that which God has given to you. So now, and I know some people that may hear this, you're not a religious person, but help us all to understand how big this forgiveness thing is.
Ooh, it's big. It's definitely big. It's almost similar to what you said. It's almost somebody has a hold on you. It's when you're not able to forgive someone, it's just lingers. It festers. It just keeps you in this frustration. And sometimes you don't even know you have it. I mean, it's gone on for so long. And sometimes, some little minute thing will just somebody say something, just a single sentence, and you just pop off. And you have to realize, wait, I probably haven't forgiven that person, or I haven't forgiven that situation that's happened. So, I mean, it keeps you really bound. And some people, they just hold that and they don't want to forgive. They feel like they're going to lose control if they, be like, oh, I forgive you. That you're not losing control. You're actually gaining back your control. When you actually are able to forgive that person, number one, forgive. And hey, maybe you just need to cut ties. Yeah. I don't know, but hey, forgive and just let it go. let it go. Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, hey, don't let that bind you. Don't let that stop you. Because that hinders so many people and they don't even know why, because it's been so long. It's especially for stuff that has been a long time. It's like, why so long? Just forgive. Yeah. Maybe even the person has even passed. Forgive the person, forgive the situation, give it over, to, if you don't believe in God, just give it over to some, write it on a piece of paper, burn it in the trash, do whatever you got to do and just let it go. Just let it go.
And you said it, and I just want to reiterate it. You're not forgiving for the person. You're forgiving for you. You want to be free. You don't want that unforgiveness to be your obstacle. And I've dealt with so many people where, Henry did me wrong, and I just can't never. Henry's married. Henry got another wife. He got other kids. He done moved. Oh, Henry is happy, and you just is single, miserable, upset because, and you don't see that it's hard for a lot of people, like you said, they don't even know it, that the reason I can't go any further is because of, I'm going to use another church term, this soul tie. My forgiveness literally has me linked to this person in the spirit realm. So nothing else good as far as relationship, it could even be a financial thing that could be a tie.
Right.
And it just really just blocks you. That is so. I've seen a really big obstacle with, and it's certain age groups that go through that don't want to. I won't go into that part. And right. You said is the person could be dead and gone, and they're still holding on to it. Wow. So now let us be clear for those that may go back and listen to this. One thing that we're saying here is that some of the biggest obstacles that you will ever face are not they're not external. They're the internal things that we're refusing to let go of. So let's name some of those things, because you said that sometimes people don't really know or don't recognize. Well, let me phrase the question like how. Let's just deal with forgiveness since we're on that. What would you say are some of the signs that a person needs to identify if they need to forgive someone?
I would definitely say if you hear the person's name or if you think about the situation, what's the sincere reaction? Honestly, you can have somebody talk. It's almost like kind of what you said earlier, their whole demeanor shifts. And you watch a person's body language or even in their voice, and if it's going high, it's going low, and you kind of listen for that. And that's one of the things, of course, as a coach, you listen very, very clear, intently for those particular signs. And so a lot of times, you just have the person talk, just in general, just talk. And you actually just kind of listen for those signals, because like you said, many people, it's very obvious when they have a certain situation and they have a certain obstacle. For some, it might make them, cower and kind of be very reserved, a little fearful, depending upon the situation. It could be, like you said, some anger because I just can't stand this person. I don't want to talk. No, they even may say, I don't want to talk about it. It's like they get so far, like, what, I don't even want to talk about it no more. Okay, sorry. but yeah, you try and listen for those clues, because they may not know it, but once you actually get them to talk about it and you get them to kind of just get that little hint out, then you can kind of say, well, you know what, I can sense something there about this situation. What exactly about the situation has allowed you to be kind of overwhelmed with it? What has caused you to feel such a feeling connection with it? And so, you try to, definitely draw it out of them just a little bit. Like I said, you don't want to get too counseling-ish, so to speak, with them, but you try to get them to talk a lot. It's about them to talk about it and just really see what that feeling is. Like you said, that emotional tie, because it'll come out.
Yes, it will come out. And a lot of people don't even realize, it's either going to come out or it's going to explode. Yeah. One or the other, it's going to come out or it's going to explode. So that is really good. There was another thought that ran through my mind, and I lost it just that quick. So for those that may come in, we're dealing with overcoming obstacles. That's it. For some of the pastor friends, I know you've said some of the pastor friends have come back and watched this, and if you may be watching this, these are some things that are really going to be important for you as a pastor to know how to identify and to be able, as Coach Price said, to be able to really listen, not always willing to just throw out a suggestion or throw out an answer. It's going to be so important to listen, because, and I'll let you elaborate on this, Coach. Many times the obstacle that the person is talking about is not the real obstacle.
Right.
And since I'm talking about my pastor friends, let me talk to you just for a minute. The story of Moses and Aaron and his sister, and it said that they does God only talk to Moses? But the real issue was they were upset. No, that they were the question. They said they got upset because he married the Ethiopian girl. But the real problem was they felt that he had something with God that they didn't. So how do we help us with our listening? So how is it that we listen to hear? And it's because as a coach, it comes when the Lord, I'm going to preach when you're the calling of to be a coach, to do that one-on-one, it just kind of comes natural that you hear what's not being said. But how do you help someone to hone that skill of hearing what's not being said?
Usually what I would suggest, like I kind of mentioned before, there is body language. There's also just when you're listening, you're doing just more than just with your ear. You are doing with your eyes. And of course, with me, I am a Christian life coach. So I also do with my spirit. I have a spirit of discernment. Mm-hmm. And so, when you're listening, you actually are listening, for more than just, like you said, what the person is saying. Because even there's some spiritual shifts that you can even get in tune with. And like you said, a lot of times when we listen, we're so quick to offer advice. We're so quick to, we got that good Bible scripture ready to fire off, and, ready to just go ahead and pop off a quick sermon for that person and think it's cool. But a lot of times you have to really listen. And I'm going to just do a brief example of that. And I had I'm very involved with our church, and I'm actually, we help to bring people in as far as for invitation and prayer. Okay. And so we had a young lady come back, and I won't, divulge names or anything like that, but we had a young lady come back, and, I had asked her, she wanted prayer. I asked for a prayer request, and it was very personal. It kind of threw all of us kind of off. We was all women in the back with her. And, because I'm a minister's wife, and then we have deacons' wives that kind of help with that. And a deacon's wife started praying. And I didn't feel that was the best prayer to get her breakthrough. Yeah. I started listening in the spirit. I didn't just listen to the words. I didn't just listen to her body language. Yeah, I could see she was brokenhearted. Yeah. I could see she was crying, but it was more to the situation. And so when I listened to what she wasn't saying and more of what she was actually expressing, like, I need prayer for this situation, I instantaneously just started saying, you know what, there's something else. And I felt it. And so once the prayer was over, I just kind of took her to the side and I told her, it's not your fault. Oh, and she felt you can just see the weight being lifted, because the situation, it was so personal for her, but yet I could tell, she was already at a point where she was confused. She was frustrated. She was already at a place where, I have no idea what's about to happen tomorrow. I'm just like, you can tell she was just, scatterbrained. And so when I just picked all that up, I was like, it's not your fault. And I just kept ministering to her and let her know, hey, God has a plan. God's gonna get the glory out of the situation. Don't allow this to, keep you down and everything else. And she was just like, thank you. And so, you have to listen with your spirit and just so much with your ear. And I know, unfortunately, like you said, if we don't all have, preachers and teachers or Christians here, it takes just a little bit more than just listening with the ear. Yeah. It really does take a spirit of discernment. Even for those that aren't religious, you can still pick up spirits from that person.
We picked them up when we was in the streets.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no, man! I'm out here, but I don't mess with him. Right. And I think the world calls it intuitive. Well, you call it what you want to. It's discernment. Yeah,
you call it what you want.
So it's so important. And Pastor Amanda said, "This is so good," and I thank you, Pastor Amanda, for joining us. And if you have any questions, if anyone, I know there's some people that their names don't actually show up. So if you have any questions, and you can hit me on Facebook, because most of my Facebook friends, and I'll see it over here in the corner. But this is really because there's some people that are battling silently. There are obstacles that they have, and they are battling alone. They put on the facade, they put on the smile, but they really have obstacles going on in their life. Now you shared with us, very the beginning of where you birthed out, I guess you'd say, your life coaching and your desire to help people overcome obstacles. In the time that you were going through your obstacle that was there, it was a real life situation. This was not just in your mind. It was happening. How were you able to still deal with life?
Number one, I will definitely be honest. When it first happened, when we first had this situation occur, and I finally got out of the hospital. Our firstborn daughter was stillborn. For those that may, like you said, tune in later. Our firstborn daughter was stillborn back in 2013. And when it first initially happened, I'm not gonna lie, my conversation with God was not a lot. It was really one of those quick, and I wasn't so much angry with God himself. I made sure to keep respecting him. I just didn't agree with his will. I didn't fully agree with him taking our firstborn daughter initially. Right. And so it took some time. And when I say my conversations with God were very limited, they were limited. I'd be like, well, thank you, Lord, for letting me wake up. Have a good day. It was limited. And so I had to really, and me not talking as much to God, eventually I started seeing that interfering with my marriage. I started seeing that interfering with even my job. Because I am very, I feel I'm a very spiritual person. And so because I wasn't necessarily raised in church, but when I did become, into church, I definitely, built up a spiritual side of me. Right. And so, it was a spiritual struggle, not so much the mental and physical. I took the time off. I actually took, my whole 2 months off and all that. But it really took a long time before being able to really trust God again. Like my chapter in my book, Can I Trust God Again? Wow. Wow. And I struggled with that title, and I struggled with that truth a little bit. When I was writing it, I was like, can I really say that? I'm supposed to be a Christian. Am I supposed to really say, can I trust God again? And so after a while, though, my husband had to have a long talk with me. It made me cry a little bit, but he had to have that stern talk with me. And my husband actually is a preacher, so you can already know how that conversation went. So, and it made me cry. But after he talked to me, I was like, you know what? I'm tired of being frustrated. I'm tired of being depressed. I'm tired of feeling like I'm not, worth a mother. I'm not worth being a woman. Mm-hmm. I had all those issues. I'm not a woman. I'm not a real woman. I'm not a real mother. I had all those issues. And so I literally was like, okay, you know what? The only solution I'm going to be having right now is to be able to talk to God. So one night I just literally poured out my heart, and I was just honest with him. I knew how I felt, and God knew how I felt too. Yeah. I just poured it all out though. It was one night. My husband was at work. My husband is a chef, so he was working one night, and I was just in our bedroom, and I was on my face, and I just let it all out. I was like, Lord, I'm frustrated. Mm-hmm. I'm mad. I'm mad she's not here. I'm gonna need you to help me through this. And so once I figured out being honest with myself and being honest with God, even though he knows, being honest with God helped to release so much, and like you said, like people, like you said, suffer in silence, or they have this battle silently. But, if you just pour out your heart, I mean, you can be naked before God. Maybe you can't be naked from somebody else, but you can be naked before God. And that's one person that you should always be able to be naked in front of. And that was really my point of breakthrough. It really was. I just poured everything out. I just let him know, God, I'm not happy. I'm frustrated. I'm mad. And I need to get out of this because this isn't the original Latonia. Yeah. I want to get back to the original Latonia, the one that is, talking to her husband and being able to be the wife that she needs to be. And and I am still a mother, even though she's not physically here. Her name was Charlotte. And so, even though Charlotte's not here, I'm still a mother. Yes. I'm still, a good mother. Yeah. I carried her. I went all the way up to 38 weeks. She was healthy. She was happy because even in ultrasound, she smiled in the 3D ultrasound. I had to keep thinking to myself, she had the best life. Because she didn't have to come into this wicked world. I didn't have to try to kill nobody, trying to hurt my child. So, and that's those things that I embrace. I look at those situations and those ways of being positive about the situation. And that's why I try to help people to kind of change their mindset as well. So that's how I had to do it. I had to release it, but I had to be naked before God. I had to tell him the truth.
Wow. And we have a question, but let me ask you this. Like you said, God knew what you were thinking. Mm-hmm. But what was the difference? How did you feel? What was the difference after you said it?
It was release for me. It was just a release. I had, and I think it's almost kind of what I said similarly to kind of like being able to speak it. Mm-hmm. And I know because I had to still go back to work. So I had to work. I had to kind of hide everything all the time. Even coming home to my husband, I just didn't really want to talk about it all the time. I didn't want to talk to him. And it could be about, honey, what you gonna cook? I don't know. Fix you a sandwich. I don't know. It was one of those things, like you said, it was such an internal, even though I knew how I felt, I wasn't necessarily getting it out as far as being able to deal with it. Right. I didn't want to really unpack my baggage. I didn't want to unpack all that stuff. I didn't want to individually go through each emotion that I was going through. And so once I actually did all that release and actually unpacking, mm-hmm. God was able to say, you know what? Okay, I got you. Now let's go ahead and deal with it. Because I think it was more or less me trying to, like you almost say, wearing these masks. Because, of course, I'm trying to smile at church. Oh, how you doing? Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you. While at the same time, I'm tore up inside. And so I had to be naked in front of somebody. And so I believe being able to have that time to actually just pour it out and just being able to just release it. It was a release for me personally. Yeah. And then, of course, I did. And then, of course, I wrote my book. And then, of course, that empowered other people. Yes. And that kind of links into not to, that's just me. I'm being able to empower people and actually encourage them is even another, for me, just a reinforcement of encouragement, being able to see that they too can overcome as well. So just being honest and straight up, I just couldn't hold it in. I was just holding it all in. So
that's good. We do have a question. This question is from Pastor Amanda Wilson. This is for you, Coach Price. It says, how do you handle I copied it over real quick, but it was someone that just will not listen. They come to you for help, but will not listen.
Well, for someone that will not listen, well, we do have those. If you coached a few people, you do have those that sometimes they're just not ready, and you have to respect that. You have to respect them not listening as far as to maybe what they're even saying. Yeah. Because like I said, with life coaching, with life coaching, you're letting them speak. It's not even you speaking most of the time, but it's them talking. And so, and if they're just not ready to even hear what they're saying, then it's probably not a good time to get coached just yet. They might need just a little bit more time to get just a little bit more into what coaching is really all about. And that's why you try to, let them know, hey, I'm a coach, I'm not a counselor. I'm going to work with you. I don't mind being your cheerleader. I don't mind holding your hand through certain things, but you do have to be coachable and you have to be willing to learn. And so a lot of times when they're listening to themselves, you have to actually acknowledge or gain that knowledge on what you're saying, because you have to know if it's negative, if it's positive, if you're angry, if you have an issue of forgiveness, even though you might be able to pick it up as a life coach, they have to hear it.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, if they're not quite there yet, I've said, hey, you got my card, you got my number, you got my email. Let me know in the future. I'll follow up with you. And I told somebody this actually. I was at a business expo last week. And I told people, I don't necessarily close my door, so to speak. I kind of leave that open relationship or communication for them to ask later, if they want to follow up with me. I don't necessarily be like, oh, forget it. Don't worry about it. I don't want to talk to you no more. You ain't got to be, in touch with me. I stay in touch with a lot of people and they kind of pick up with me later. So, but yeah, sometimes just got to tell them they ain't ready. Then they're not quite ready.
And even on, pulling what you said back to our subject, overcoming obstacles, you've got to be ready to overcome it.
Yes.
You've got to be ready. You've got to have a made up mind. Just a person in a bad relationship. They've got to make up their mind that enough is just enough. No. Pastor Amanda says, Thank you. Pastor Amanda says, thank you. That is
You're
really
welcome.
Good. Now, let me ask you, we'll close on this note, and this may take a few minutes. How do you, because I'm my coaching ear is on, I'm hearing that you're a very frank person. You're a very straightforward person. When a person is right at that point where they could make that change, can we be direct as we need to be, I guess is the question, with people who are teeter-tottering? And I guess that's a coaching question there.
Yeah, it is a little bit.
Hey, come on, man. Get it.
Yeah, I would think, I have really yet for people not to, appreciate the honesty, or at least appreciate being forward. And it's not necessarily being rude or being mean. It's just kind of getting to the point. And I have my original background is IT. That's my day job. I'm a computer geek. So I just kind of, IT people are direct.
Yeah, very.
So it's a little more, it's a little bit more of a familiar territory for me, but I've learned how to be very mindful of the person as well. I don't necessarily be just straight rude. That's one thing. Yeah, I'm not rude, but I am definitely letting you know the truth. Right. And that's one of the things that, truth, it can hurt, but it's the truth. Truth is truth. And that's something that I try to just make sure of. And a lot of people, they appreciate it. I haven't yet to really find anybody think that it was rude, but I just definitely try to just be honest and just, let them know, hey, it's not that you can't, like you said, they may be teeter-tottering. Yeah. It's not to say they can't make that positive change. It's just that, hey, maybe you got to work some other things out. Yeah. Whatever, I can work with whoever at whatever point, but you are going to have to be willing to just want to learn, and you're going to really have to want to know what action steps and be ready to take those action steps. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another thing, because I do heavily with goal setting. Okay. So, I have people set goals, life goals and just different things they want to achieve. And so, if you're not ready to take those action steps, because my action plan, I have you break down everything with dates, everything. That's if you're not ready to actually take those action steps, hey, you can keep the action plan, but when you're ready, come to me. Hey, but you have to be ready to take those action steps.
And the key is action. I really think the movie The Secret might have messed some of us up. We think that we can just sit and, we're looking for a genie to come. No, there's got to be some action. And I guess this will go back to what we were talking about discernment. And you've got to have inspired action. You might be headed in one way, but all of a sudden you hear something down in your spirit say, okay, I need to go this direction. And I'll give you, for instance, when I'm new at this life coaching. I've been doing it from the pastoral side, but now I'm doing it from a life coaching. So I'm getting websites and things together, things that I really didn't have to focus on before. So, but when my intention was to get it done, I ended up going in a bank that I don't even usually go into. A young fellow behind the counter. He takes my information as far as doing the transaction or whatever. And somehow we get on the subject about websites. He said, man, I need a website. I said, well, I need some pictures. You know anybody take pictures? He said, I'm a photographer. So it was just like, and people got to understand, when you take action, when you're ready to take action, that's one thing I think, whether, like I said, everybody here might not be saved, God, universe, however you want to see it, things will begin to line up and come together so that you can have, do, and be what you desire. But you've got to put forth the action. And we're going to have Coach Latonia come back on and do a teaching on self-publishing, which I am very, very interested in. I got my first copy of my new book. I'm excited. I did self-publish, but I do plan to do some more. So I definitely want to get her back in and to be able to have her. My co-host, Tony Lewis, has been trying to get in. His internet ain't acting right for him tonight. I would be able to get in. So he's been trying to diligently to get in. But this has been such a good conversation tonight. There may be some people on here, when it comes to coaching, I had some Christian folks say, you make people pay. Because I've come to learn that people, if there's really not a dollar value, then people don't value what they're getting. There's something about saying, okay, I'm giving you this amount of time. This is the cost that it's going to cost you for me to spend quality time with you. We're not gossiping. We're not but strategically planning how to get you out of this particular situation. People pay thousands and thousands of dollars to bring in people like myself and Coach Price to help them. And I really, for those of you that may can't afford coaching, whatever, that's why we put on these platforms like our Refocus Thursday, and we bring guests on here. So, and if you know people that need this, we want to encourage you. They need to invest. They need to show an invested interest. Yeah, that is definitely it. There's got to be an invested interest. This has been wonderful. I want to give it back to you, and I want to allow you to close us out and to really encourage that person that may be at that place where, hey, I've watched the show, I've heard what you said, but and I'm really going to take in what you said. But I just need those last few words of encouragement. And I do want to, and I'm going to be inboxing you and seeing when you could come back on, and definitely because I've got some people that want me to help them publish now. So I want to get some better ways of doing things. So we definitely want to get you back on. Elder Lewis, thank you so much. Pastor Amanda, thank you so much for being with us. All of the other people that I can't see, that I've seen and been through here, that will go back and listen to this, that we may go back and listen to the audio of this. I want to thank you. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. So, Coach, I'm going to let you close it out in your own way. Okay, Pastor Amanda says, thank you. I'm gonna let you close that in your own way with those last words of encouragement. Tell your husband, tell Elder Price, we do thank you. Thank him for allowing you to be with us tonight.
Definitely. Last words. Honestly, I just want to say you can overcome any obstacle if you actually keep your faith and give your faith life. I actually got that from my husband. That is now my theme, my motto, that I'm actually, to live effectively and to make effective decisions, you have to give your faith life. And that goes even beyond just a normal Christian belief. We've talked about action steps. We've talked about, being honest. We've talked about just pouring it all out. And honestly, if you be honest with yourself, answer those tough questions for yourself, and actually take those action steps and be willing to give your faith life, you can overcome any obstacle. You can succeed. You can accomplish whatever your heart desires. And just be willing to understand also that sometimes those obstacles are meant to shape you. They're meant to actually help you and equip you to make you stronger, and then share it with somebody else. Once you come out, help somebody else come out. Don't just leave it there just saying it's for you. When we have abundance and blessings and being able to overcome, it's not supposed to just stay with us. It's supposed to overflow to others. And so that's my last words. I want to just encourage you. You can overcome any obstacle, give your faith life, and you can overcome it.
Powerful, powerful. Give us your website information one more time, how they can connect with you via the social media and the internet.
Social media, of course, I'm pretty much on all of them, but on Facebook, you can search for me either by Effective Living, LLC, Latonia Price. That's all on Facebook. And then also I'm on Twitter as Coach L Price. And then also Google Plus, Instagram, all of those are Effective Living LLC. And then my website itself is actually www.effectiveliving-llc.com.
Amen. llc.c.com. I wanted to put it in the window in case somebody wants to hit it. Let me make sure that I got it right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, let me see if I can pin that up here. I thought I could. I don't know how to do it. But yes, we do want, please go check out her webpage, follow her on Facebook. Awesome. So I'm definitely going to be hitting you so we can figure out when we could do the next one so that you can come and help us. Because I really, I wrote this in 30 days, So I want to really encourage people, because there's a lot of people, they got books in them. You can get it out. I promise you can get it out. You can find you a good editor, a good proofreader, and then I'll turn you on to my secrets, and we're going to let Coach give us some secrets. But thank you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm getting ready to stop the recording now.